Okay, right people, so we are doing timelines. Okay, so dit voel so lekker om op 'n bord te kan skryf. Tydlyne, né? Timelines. Okay, now. Yesterday I posted that little picture of of that one question, né? 5,700 is deposited into a savings account. Okay, so right here at the beginning, where we start off, there the time is 0 years. Now, okay, you guys, let me read through the whole question first, and then we'll add to this timeline as we go. 5,700 Rand is deposited into a savings account. And 2 years later, another 1,900. Okay, so already I know that I'm definitely going to 1 year, 2 years. No, okay. Yeah? Yes, we can. Ek gaan gou so klein bietjie vooruit skiep, because I know it's supposed to go until 8. Morning. Right. I know it's supposed to go until 8, but I'll explain now as we go. Okay, so for those of you that just worked it, 5,700 is deposited into a savings account. So right at the beginning, 5,700. No, that's what we start off with. And then 2 years later, another 1,900. Okay, so over here at 2 years, another 1,900. Does that make sense to everyone so far? Okay, then is added to the savings. All right, then a final deposit of 4,100 is made 5 years after the initial deposit. Okay, so at 5 years, I'm adding a final amount of 4,100. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Die rentekoers vir die eerste 3 jaar. The interest rate for the first 3 years. So meaning from here up until there. Right? The interest rate is going to be 13% compounded quarterly. Okay? So what would my I value then be? It's going to be 0,13, and because it's compounded quarterly, it's over 4. That makes sense to everyone. No. Okay, then they say, and then 11,2% per jaar maandeliks saamgestel vir die volgende 5 jaar. And that is how I knew it would be 8 years. Right? Because of the first 3 years and then 5 years. So in total, the money was invested for 8 years. Right? Okay, onthou nie alles vir 8 jaar nie, want dit hang af wanneer daai geld ingesit is. Okay, ek hoor julle sê dis koud, nou sal ek aansit. Die keteltjie het klaar gekook as julle wil maak, né? Okay, so for the last 5 years, meaning from here up until 8 years, I'm going to have 11,2%, so 0,112, and that's compounded monthly, so it would 12. Okay. Right. Now what I want you guys to understand is that I cannot go and add those 3 amounts and then just work out what it would be gaining interest for 8 years. Want hierdie oukie, well, this guy, that one, he gains interest for how many years? 8 years. Want hy lê 8 jaar lank in daai bankrekening. Nee. Okay. The 1,900 It gains interest for 6 years. All right. And the 4,100 only gains interest for 3 years. But there's another part that we have to consider, the interest rates. So let's go back to the 5,700. That is gaining interest for 8 years, but it gains interest for 3 years at this rate. Nee. Okay? And then, that amount, want hierdie stukkie is wat julle baie keer die mekaar maak. That total amount that we have gained at the end of those 3 years, meaning the 5,700 and the interest, dit gaan rente verdien vir die volgende 5 jaar. Why do I say 5? Because we've already calculated it up until 3. Nee. So for the next 5 years, but at that interest rate. Does it make sense? Okay. So kom ons kyk net gou-gou eers na wat gebeur alles met daai 5,700. Nee. All right. So you will see that in the picture that I also added, nee, on that group. I talk about A1, A2 and A3. That's amount number 1. Nee. Okay. So let's talk about amount number 1, meaning this 5,700. Okay, wat gaan met hom gebeur? Hy gaan wees, first things first, are we using simple interest or compound interest? Okay, goed, nou, met ander woorde, P is 5,700, and then it's 1 plus I, nee? So 1 plus, en watter I gaan ons nou gebruik? Hierdie stukkie, nee? 0,13 over 4, so 1 plus I to the power of N. How many years was it? 3 years, but it's compounded 4 times per year. Is julle by so ver? So what I just calculated now is this part, that. Nee. Okay, now usually we would get equal to and then a final answer here. Nee. So ek het nou vir gesê, that final answer, I'm going to take and I'm going to work out this next part of interest. Nee. So instead of doing it two separate things, you can, maar in plaas daarvan om dit apart te gaan doen, hierdie hele ding, that whole thing gives me my answer. So meaning that will be the A value of my next step. Maak dit sin? Okay. So ek het eintlik klaar vir A en nou sê ek maal 1 plus I, which is 0,112 over 12. For how many years? 5 years times 12. Okay. Maak dit vir julle sin. Does that make sense? So meaning that is the first 3 years, and that answer, that's basically A, and now I've got 1 plus I to the power of N over here. That last part. Wie's verlore daar? Want ek wil baie graag hê julle moet daai stukkie net vir my vang. You guys good? Great. Okay, goed. Now that is only one part of my equation. Want nou het ek gaan uitwerk wat gebeur met die 5,700. I still have 2 other amounts left. Nee. Okay, so now I'm going to do amount number, wat net 'n ander kleurverslag. Amount number 2, meaning this 1,900. Okay. So amount 2. What do we start with? 1,900. Okay. Nou kyk gou-gou mooi. Hierdie 1,900. sien jy hierdie gaan net tot by jaar 3. Nee. So how many years is that gaining interest at this rate? 1 year. Nee. Okay. Goed. So ons gaan sê 1 plus 0,13 op 4 en dan sit eintlik 1 maal 4. Nee. Is julle reg? Goed. En dan daai gee ons nou vir my 'n antwoord, and that's going to be the A of my next calculation, meaning getting this last part. Nou, how many years is that? 5. Okay, so dan gaan ek sê maal 1 plus 0,12 op 12 5 maal 12. Is julle alright? Okay. Ja. Oh, sorry. Dankie. Thanks. Alright. So everyone so far okay. So now we've sorted out the 5,700. Ons het uitgesorteer die 1,900. Nou moet ons net gou gaan kyk daai laaste bedragie van 4,100. So amount number 3. 4,100. Okay, how many years is that gaining interest? 3 jaar, okay. En dit is teen daai laaste rentekoers van 0,112 op 12. And that would be 3 times 12. Okay, is julle nog okay so ver? Okay, I did not go and write out what would each one of those answers be. But you will see in those notes, what we then do is we worked out what's happening to each amount separately. Nee. So then those final answers, you're going to say the amount 1 plus amount number 2 plus amount number 3 would give me my total. Nee. Okay, and that is going to give me 24,108 and 19 cents. Kan julle, daar's nog 'n 19 cent, hoor? Ek sien op die bord wys hy 9 nie.